Okay, I know what you're thinking. What does this title mean? It says, I'm mad, here's why. And here is why. The prices on things like graphics cards these days, so if I showing you just the price of some of the 4090s, like this ROG Strix one, is ridiculous. I mean, $4,000 for a graphics card. I mean, it's a little bit more. I guess AMD is probably not that bad because, I mean, a 7800 XTX is the same sort of performance as a 4080 Super. Like, they'd trade a few blows with each other in performance wise. But it's still really expensive. I mean, if you want to get into 4K gaming with a NVIDIA RTX card, then you're going to need, for good 4K gaming, you're probably going to want something like a 4070 Ti or a 4070 Ti Super. And I mean, $1,300 in Australia, it's ridiculous. Like, that's too much money, if you ask me. I think that everything should be dropped by a bit, like a 4070 Super or something should be dropped down to something like the price of a 4060 Ti. Like a sort of mid-tier one should be $850, not stinking 900, 1,500 for a mid-tier one. Like, this is what I'd call a high-tier card, the MSI Supreme X. But, I mean, it's ridiculous how stinking expensive these cards are, considering the companies are already so incredibly rich. Like, they have so much money because of the previous cards. Because of the previous cards, as I said, it's just obnoxious. And something worse is workstation graphics cards. Like, some of the NVIDIA ones, like the NVIDIA A100 is $30,000, or the A100X for $35,000. It's ridiculous. I mean, seriously, NVIDIA, who do you the only one that any sort of basic person who wanted just a basic NVIDIA graphics card for this sort of thing would be still paying. I mean, if you want 4 gigs of VRAM, I mean, sure. But for a T1000, that's ridiculous. Or for like an A2000, which is probably one of the nicer looking cards, it's still $1,050. So, I mean, I don't know why I guess AMD's sort of good on the prices, but why? No. They're increasing the price on the three fan. Why? Okay, so I didn't actually know this. The 7600 used to be $439, and now it's $459 and $479. And these ones used to be these ones were always $550, but this one used to be less. So prices are increasing, and don't even get me started on Apple. Like, when they released the iPhone 15 series last year, like, the price increased a fair amount. I'll just hang on. How much did Yeah, so it increased by like at least $100 increase on the iPhones. Apple, you're a multi-trillion-dollar business. Why are you increasing the price of your phones? Can we just bring the Pro phones back down to like $1,500 and these ones back down to $1,300 or something? Something more reasonable. Like, I want to build myself a gaming PC that can do reasonably well, and that means that I'm looking at something like a 7600, sorry, not a 6600, a 7600, or if I want to spend less, then yes, it's going to be a 6600. But I'm looking at like a 7600, or if I want to get an Nvidia card, then 40 series. So if I want to get an Nvidia card 40 series, then for a 4060, it's still $500, and then for the one I want, it's $610. I mean, I'd prefer a 4060 Ti, which is $750, because I don't know, because Aorus and all these companies are ridiculous for charging you this amount for your PC. And then for an SSD that I want to, let's say I want to pair, not an SSD, what I want to pair it with an AMD AM5 chipset, and they're so expensive. And where's the Ryzen 5 gone? Oh god. I mean, it's just obnoxious. So if I want to go for a 5 CPU, so let's go. That's not what. Oh god. Oh god. No, if this is actually what's happening, I swear I'm gonna sue PLA. That's obnoxious. Wait, hang on. Does Centacom have RTA? Does Centacom have? Oh god, hang on. Who sells the Ryzen 5 7600? Amazon, but that's still more than I want to spend. Wait, PL, what? What? How does that work? Wait, but if I go back here. Oh my goodness. Why is everybody so stuffed? Yeah, because look, now they're here. 8500G. Hey. I mean, recently AMD released these CPUs. So I guess for a good CPU, I mean, this is actually pretty good because global 5 gigahertz, that's a pretty good boost clock if you're willing to do a bit of overclocking. 6 cores, 12 threads. This would be great for gaming. And I mean, look, it's 45 to 65 watts with a 95 degrees. And I mean, if your CPU is running at 95 degrees, that's on you. That's not AMD's fault. That's on you. I mean, where's like the Ryzen 9 8900? Hang on. Let's see. I'm going a bit off task here, but I do want to know, where's the Ryzen 9? They could be far. Okay, I need to see this. Fast enough to run rings. Oh god. I mean, something definitely to consider if you want to buy a new PC is definitely go for like a Ryzen 5000 series. Just 7000 series or whatever it is, just because they're so much better for gaming. But I mean, I'm off task. CPUs aren't really that expensive. I mean, I guess with a really top end like 7950X3D, this is a $1,000 CPU. That's ridiculous for pricing. But I mean, as well as Intel, what are you doing, Intel? $1,000 for a CPU? I mean, granted, for gaming, if you're going to go for like a sort of good 4K gaming PC, all you really need is like a 7800 X3D and a RTX 4080 Super or something, or a 4070 Ti Super. But the thing is for those who want to get like a top end PC, I mean, let's just go. I mean, if you want to get like absolute top end RTX 40 series cards, I mean, let's say you want to go for, what's the cheapest 4090? The cheapest 4090 is the Gigabyte WindForce. That's already $3,000. Plus, let's say you want to go for an LGA 1700 CPU. To pair with this, you need a really good CPU. That's already $4,000 just for a CPU and GPU. And I mean, let's say you don't want to build your PC because, I don't know, you don't want to, or you don't know how to, which is completely understandable. And you want like a 4090. I mean, let's just choose Blackout. I mean, that's a 14700K already. but a 14900K, okay? So this is going to be this is like a top end PC. So 14900K, that's a good motherboard. You want lots of RGB, so you're selecting 48 gigs. That's a 4070, so you want like a top end machine. You're going to be spending way too much money on a PC. I mean, that's good. 750, you're going to need like... The power supplies also are just so expensive. Like, I mean... Okay, MSI, that's a nice power supply from MSI. Good work, MSI. But you need like... I mean, 1600 watts is what I'd recommend for this sort of GPU. Or actually, 1300 watts. Because then you have good, like, power for when... Because, like, as I hope you know... or maybe you don't, but this is a learning experience for you. Nvidia sometimes has power spikes on their GPUs, so it's always good to have a high wattage power supply if you're gonna go for an Nvidia. And I mean, if you want one of those fancy new MSI SSDs like this one, which honestly I don't think will work very well in this, so you have that. I don't know, depends on which case you want. But that's already $7,000. And then if you want to go down the liquid cooling route, so if you want to go down a custom liquid cooling route, let's say, I mean, that's my favorite, honestly. If I were to get one of these PCs, it would be this one. But let's say you're going with Intel, which is not what I'd recommend. 14900K, Maximus Z790. I mean, again, you want RGB or you want Dominator, Titanium, wherever it is, this one. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be so expensive. Like, tough. It's again, I mean, I'd personally go for an Aorus Master. But the thing is because it's a custom water-cooled build, you're not going to see the heatsink anyway, so I'd just go with the cheapest one I could. I'd get one with I like his Star Wars one. I mean, an RMX Shift, it probably would support a 4090, but I just want to spend a little bit extra and get like a 1200 watt power supply, just in case. And I mean, already look at that, it's $9,660. That's really expensive. Then if you do know how to build a PC and you want to, I mean, that's going to be so expensive, because if we go into cooling and we just get like all the custom water cooling parts, like water blocks, how expensive are water blocks? Like I don't know, it depends on which water block you want, because for GPUs, like if we just go max price, like, I mean, look at that, a Z790 water block for an Intel, for an ROG Maximus, that's $1,000. Or let's say for a GPU for a 4090 Zotac card, $400. Another EK one, this one for 1700. They're so expensive. It's ridiculous. Like, it's too expensive. So, I mean, get your marketing under control. Like, actually, it would be, I reckon that I mean, how do I say this? I reckon there's also a good chance that some computer brands are trying to make it cheap, but then they're like not getting the right opportunity. I mean, how much do you want to spend on a GPU? Let's say you have $200 to spend on a GPU. Where, like, here, you're looking at a 1650 or something. Like, if I just go, where's PC Part Picker? We go to PC Part Picker, and we choose, alright, start a new build. I've been trying to build my own PC for ages now, on a really tight budget, mind you. So if we want to build a cheap, but still good PC in Australia, I mean, it'll run. I know that this is pretty much what I'm looking at. I mean, just to run 1080p video card. I mean, it really depends on what you want, but I mean, for this, you want to pair it with like a 6600, say. Like, what are these? And I mean, the cheapest is an ASRock, is the Gigabyte Eagle, sorry. So that's still really expensive. And I mean, a motherboard What motherboard do you want? I mean, it needs to be I mean, for this one, you want a B760 chipset, so let's go for this one. Cheap. Because otherwise you'd need, because with the lower end motherboards, you'd need a an old 12th gen CPU to get the BIOS update. I mean, 16 gigs of RAM. I wouldn't want to go for anything less than 16. I mean, storage. I already have an SSD that I can use, but I mean, let's say you need to buy a new one. I mean, I'd never get anything other than M.2. I mean, you could get a hard drive, but for your base foundation, it's just not something I'd recommend. I mean, yeah, they're more expensive. I mean, Crucial P3, it's a Gen 3 SSD, but it'll be pretty decent. I mean, look at that. It's already $800. Mind you, it is in Australia. But power supply, only need a 550 watt. So we'll set that to 550, wherever it is, because I can't be bothered trying to find a actual 550 watt without trying to turn the settings down. 550. The cheapest one is this Cooler Master one, but I mean, I'd go for a Corsair CV550. But the thing is the CV650, at least where I am, is actually $5 cheaper. So this is not the power supply I'd recommend. I'd recommend something a bit different. And then a case. I mean, I'll have to go. Let's go Micro ATX mid tower. What's one of the cheaper ones that doesn't have RGB fans? I mean, you wouldn't want to go for that. If it's a gaming PC, you want a glass side panel. So let's say it's the Antec one, which I actually don't mind, personally. It's already $9,980. And I mean, let's say you do have an SSD at home or some RAM at home. I mean, even if we're only cutting 60, it's still over $900, which, if you're trying to get into really cheap gaming and you don't have a great income, this might still be too much. I mean, what's this case got? I mean, it does have RGB, which is nice, I mean, this is actually a really, well, that's funky. This is actually a really nice case. It's just, if you look at the airflow for it, I mean, you'll see how much 360 mil graphics card. The thing is any graphics card that is sort of that size, you're not really going to want to put in there because it'll need more cooling. And if you look at the front, you only have mesh sort of along. I mean, if you can see that, you only have mesh, a small amount of mesh that takes up maybe 1/3 of the case. No, what? Not 1/3. 1/6 of the case, which is just not right. That's just not enough. But the thing is with a 3-fan 6600, actually, this would probably be okay, though it depends how long the graphics card is. But, I mean, for a 6600, why? This should be like, for us, at most $300. I mean, 1080p gaming, 8 gigs of memory, PCIe 4.0. Yeah, that should not be $300. Yeah, I mean, 28 centimeters. So this would fit in that case with 6 centimeters to spare or whatever. 4, 6, 8 centimeters. But the thing is it's just not viable. Like, if you want, let's say you want a PC that can do 1440p, which is something I do want, but I just can't afford. Let's choose a CPU. So, good 1440p CPU, I'd choose a 5600. Thing is, I mean, again, it's $200 for a CPU that's a budget CPU that probably wouldn't even do 1440p very well. I mean, let's go on to PLE. Because in the custom builds, or I think even the non-custom, I mean, for 1440p, 55, I'd go for a 5600 though, just because it's a little bit faster. I mean, don't really need anything more than this. It's an Asus Pro. It'll do fine. Yeah, a 3050, I'd say it's not, as I think probably most YouTubers say, it's not great for basic. What am I trying to say? It's terrible FPS per dollar. So a 3060, 500 gigs of storage, that a really ugly cooler. I've seen this cooler. I've been into one of their stores and seen this cooler. I'd go for like an ID cooling one of those. And I mean, 1440p. Okay, Fortnite. I mean, obviously it's going to play Avatar at 1080p because Avatar's a hard game to run. Cyberpunk 1080p. Counter. It doesn't even play CS2. 1440p. So this will play some games at 1440p. But I mean, if you really want to get into like full 1440p gaming on AMD, which is what I'd recommend because they're way better for gaming. So with the CPU, I don't know, for 1440p, maybe a 8600G, just because then you'll be on the. I mean, it doesn't really matter. They'll all be on the same platform. In the end, it's just personal preference. I prefer ATX personally, so we'll just add in an ATX motherboard, some memory, which has to be DDR5, which I don't necessarily think is the greatest choice, but I understand it. I mean, let's go for this GIL kit, because it looks kind of nice. So for a graphics card, 1440p, I guess you could use a 7600 or a 7600 XT. I mean, the 7600 XT, you're paying like $100 more for barely any extra performance, so I mean, if you want NVIDIA, then you could go for like a 4060 Ti, but for this, I'd recommend like a 7700 XT or something. I mean, that, but it's already super expensive. I mean, 2 terabytes Kingston drive, that's fine. 750 watts. I mean, the good thing about AMD is you don't need to worry about the Gen 5 connector. Also, you don't really, I mean, semi-modular because it has only 3 pre-installed cables, which is the CPU cable, the ATX cable, and the graphics card cable, whatever the hell that's called. Case, I mean, we chose an ATX motherboard, so I don't know, Coolmaster CMP 510. I've seen this case, it's a nice case. I'd recommend it has good airflow. Yeah, cool. I like these Cooler Master Halo coolers, but I mean, let's just say you want to get a basic liquid cooler. That's what I'd get this deep cool one, and then we're gonna add in an extra fan just for exhaust. And I mean, you don't really need anything more than like an $11 Gamer Chief fan, but if you want to go for something a little bit more premium or something that might match it, then I might go for the ID cooling fan because it'll match the other cooling fans. And I mean, 1440p. I mean, it's pretty much 1440p. I mean, you're not going to get Cyberpunk just because the graphics aren't quite good enough. Again, Counter-Strike 2. 4K on some games, I guess. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Starfield, 1080p. But I mean, for what... I mean, this PC will play most games across the board at 1440p or 1080p. I mean, Forspoken, never heard of it, but I'm guessing it's a hard game to run. Played Team Fortress 2, anything can play that game. Valorant, pretty much anything again can play that game. It's so easy to run. Like a 4090 will run that thing at like 4090 will run the thing if it's 4K like 500 FPS. It's ridiculous. Warzone 2, Spider-Man. I've actually seen this game and it looks so good. Like, I mean, just looking at this, you kind of just go, why would you need anything really more? I mean, especially if you're just going to be playing Fortnite. The issue that I have, though, is, again, the price. $2,600. And let's say you haven't bought a chair. You need a chair. I mean, a Battle Ball chair. I've sat in these. They're not comfortable. You just need a basic chair. You need a keyboard. If you were to get everything, I mean, Keychron V2, I think I've used this keyboard and it's really nice. A 1440p monitor. I mean, if you want to go 4K, fine with me. It's just expensive. 1440p, 32-inch curved. A mouse, I don't know. The one I use here. So I use a Razer Viper V2 Pro. Is it here? It's probably, yeah, here we go. I mean, mouse mat. It depends on which one you want. Personally, I think this one's really cool. And then headphones. I mean, depends on what person you are, but for good speakers, in fact, speakers and headphones are really expensive. Like, I mean, HyperX is a good brand. Cloud 3 is something I could say yes. But, I mean, SteelSeries, it's so expensive for those. I mean, this is kind of what I'd recommend for speakers. But personally, I would probably go for something like this or a Razer Black Shark V2 or V2 Pro, because I have a Black Shark V2 again. Really good headset. THX Spatial is so nice. Like, it's really. I mean, when you're playing non THX Spatial, it's just 7.1 surround. But when it's not, when it's a THX game, it's phenomenal. Okay, let's say you're getting headphones. I mean, there's some pretty decent accessories. You want wireless. I mean, this will need Wi-Fi, because I'm pretty sure that's a non-Wi-Fi motherboard. Let's double check before we add in any Wi-Fi accessories. Oh no, hang on, this one's Wi-Fi. No, this one's an X670, so yeah, that will be a Wi-Fi board. Pretty sure. Yes, it's Wi-Fi. I can see the little Wi-Fi things. I don't know what to call them. So let's say optical drive. What is? I keep forgetting. Oh no, it's one of those. Yes, a webcam. I mean, I don't think most people will need one of these, but I mean, 1080p. I mean, if you want a 4K webcam, which I don't think most people will use, so let's go for the Elgato face cam because Elgato is reliable. A sound card. So some people, some gamers I know will use these because I don't know, they find them really useful, I guess. So we'll just put one of these in. I mean, it's already $4,500 for an entire setup, and I mean, it's just not gonna run you too well. I mean, things are expensive, and I mean, I'm gonna continue back onto the Apple subject. I mean, especially MacBook. If you want like a good Mac, if you want like a good Mac desktop, like a Mac Studio, which is reasonably small. I mean, I've seen them, but you want like really powerful. You need the most powerful Mac Studio that you can get. M2 Ultra 24 cores. Yep, blah, like 100. This is more than anyone is gonna need. I mean, you don't need these, but 13 grand. I mean, they dropped the price on the Mac Pro, thank God. Used to, for like in Australia, when you max out this thing, it used to be like $80,000. It was obnoxious. But now I think they max it out at like, I mean, $1,500 for a proper good CPU. Again, it'll be pretty much the same, just more money. I mean, it's already more money. I mean, if you really want one of both of them, I mean, sometimes I might actually use both of them. But, I mean, at least it comes with everything except a monitor. So if you go for that, that's 20 grand. Plus, I mean, let's have a look at what the Apple recommended monitor is. I mean, obviously, Apple recommend, like, the Pro Display XDR, which is $10,000. I mean, granted, I would also say this is a really good monitor. I mean, if you want nano texture glass, which is just making everything cleaner. Pro Stand, I understand if you want this, but I mean, it just depends on what you're using. So let's say you do get Pro Stand or a VESA mount adapter. I mean, that's just the adapter for a different monitor, I think. But I mean, look at that. It's 12 grand. That's $30,000. The thing is I could build an entire setup for that money. Let's go max out. Let's max out this PC. I mean, Apple specifically are the ones I'm really ranting about because of everything they've done to make their products so expensive. RTX 4090. I mean, 4090 AOS Master. It's really big. Like, it's enormous. It's too big. But 990 Pro 2TB. You're gonna need a better motherboard for this, I swear. If you're getting this motherboard, then you're a dog. I mean, I'd recommend one of these just because they're a little bit more. I mean, Trident. I really like Trident RAM. 6,000 megahertz will be fine. This, like, 1200 watts easily. Or maybe it's actually, it might not be the NVIDIA GPUs that have power spikes. It might be the it might be the Intel CPUs. But I mean, this case just will not fit it. The case, this is my favorite case, but I'm not gonna buy it for really good reason. My reason is pricing. The Cooler Master half 700 is so expensive. It's up there with like the ROG Hyperion. But again, they're super nice looking cases. Like Cooler Master, what do you have for coolers? I'd go for like the same cooler and case, because the companies always do a pretty good job of making sure that their things go together. But actually for this, I'd go for an Asus cooler, because especially with like ROG Ryzen, which they do like one of these, it's a really good cooler. Like, it's an amazing cooler. Like, this is your first time building a PC and you're going absolute maxed out. I would heavily recommend something like this. I mean, let's get 2 kits of these, because something to note about this case is that on the top and bottom, I'll finish building this. This is an entire setup, so let's just go face mount, display HDR 1000. I mean, that's a QHD, so no, let's go 1400. 4K. Okay, so this is a monitor I'd definitely recommend. I mean, again, with the mouse, the headset, that's fine. Keyboard, it's fine. Monitor's the only thing I'd change, just because this thing can max out to 4K. I mean, with all this, it's still $1,300, which is so much less, and this is going to play 4K across the board. The CPU has 3D V-Cache, which means that it enhances all the cores with 3D. And the reason I got 2 kits of fans, although I might end up actually going out to 4, depends on it. But if we go extended ATX, I think that's what it is. Yeah, here we go. So if you have a look along these images, wherever it is, somewhere it shows you the, yeah, so you can actually fit 6 fans on the top and bottom. So it's an enormous case. You can fit what I call too much hardware in it. But I mean, obviously, this is, again, I'm kind of being a bit hypocritical, because I love this case. Like, I think it's amazing. So this is a case I'd go for. And I mean, custom water cooled, which obviously I haven't done in the custom PC. But again, Apple especially has just gone overboard with pricing. I mean, personally, I reckon that actually PC gaming for a maxed out PC like I just showed you is not too obnoxious. Like, these fans are actually so nice. But anyway, so I guess I'm just going to wrap it up there. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and that's it.